Hello, everybody. We're going live here today with ProCare Health as our sponsor, and we're going to be talking to Brian Crabtree today on the topic of changing that image of who we are after weight loss surgery. So, welcome. Brittany is with us. She's just behind the scenes. She's not on camera today, but please feel free if you have any questions in the chat. Please use that. We'll be watching that really closely. Also, if you're logging on our Facebook channel, feel free to do so there. The event on our Crowdcast channel is set for 1:15 to go live at that time. That'll be a little closer to what time Brian is joining us. So if you're joining us, let us know if you're here for the first time, if you've been here with us before. Let us know, a little bit about yourself. If you've had weight loss surgery, if you're preparing to have weight loss surgery. Hi, Kaisha. Hope I'm saying that right. And let me kind of tell you just a little bit about a couple things. First of all, if you've never heard of ProCare Health, we are a bariatric multivitamin company. And what we specialize in is products that are really affordable, and we aspire to be one of the lowest priced on the market. We'll share a little bit more as we kind of go through the system, but I just want to kind of tell you a little bit about our sponsor. And I'm also going to just share here for a second a little bit about Brian. So whenever he sent me his bio, he kind of put it in first person, meaning that he wrote it for you guys for this topic, and I'm just going to read. It's a quote. So what he says is, from a chubby kid to being imprisoned within my own body at age 27, I had gastric bypass weight loss surgery. Okay, so he had the bypass. He says, topping the charts at 400 pounds, wearing oxygen, and my joints not being able to hold my weight, I was determined to get my life back. Going from a 60-inch waist to a size 32, I have kept off 220 pounds, guys, and made an embarking on my 18-year surgiversary. Surgery anniversary, basically. Okay, guys? That's incredible. He also says, living my life to the very fullest, I have made fitness a vital part of my journey. And I want him to talk more about that because I think that's really inspiring. My mission is to offer hope and motivation to all those struggling with weight issues, striving to make the most of every day. And I'm telling you guys, a lot of times people kind of have a little bit of fear kind of going into weight loss surgery because they're concerned about the long-term benefits. So seeing his story, that it is possible. It is possible. And for myself, I had weight loss surgery back in 2013, and I still have been able to keep off a lot of my weight. I mean, I had a little bit of a regain, but for the most part, I've done really well. I've benefited from the health benefits, being able to be more physically active, having higher energy levels, and just basically benefit from like my high blood pressure and all of those kind of things. So I also want to just welcome, it looks like we have quite a few of you guys logged on, and I'm going to double check real quick our ProCare Facebook page to see if it may not bounce on for us quite yet. So it looks like we're still underway with that. So what I just want to say is thank you guys for joining us, and we're going to kind of just talk here for a bit since we're waiting on Brian. Let me double check to make sure he's not logged on again. Brian, not quite yet. So let's just talk. Hey, let's do a Q&A since we're just getting started here. Anybody here have anything that they want to ask a question about regarding? It could be anything bariatric lifestyle related. It could be long-term results of bariatric surgery. It could be regarding our bariatric ProCare vitamin supplements or vitamin questions. We'd love to help answer some of those while we're kind of waiting. See if we have anything kind of come in. kind of wait here for a second. And so, how long after the surgery did you get used to your new body? You know what? That is a wonderful question. And I know Brian is going to talk about that too, because we're going to talk about body dysmorphia. And so to answer that question, I think for me, it was a month by month process. Like, I just remember every month losing, a certain amount of weight. For me, my body mass index in the beginning was 35. I lost probably at a little slower rate, but it was adjusted because, it was normal for me because my body mass index wasn't, as high as some others, like 60 or 70. But I felt like I was changing a size literally almost every month. And I would look in the mirror and I literally couldn't hardly believe it. Like, trying on sizes, I would go to the shopping mall and I was so used to wearing those bigger sizes, I would try them on and they'd be big. And I was like, okay, I don't know if I can go down a size. I almost was scared. Looking in the mirror, it was a lot different. Being around people, like my family, my sisters are smaller than I am. And so I was so used to seeing myself a certain way. It was a little bit hard. It took some time. I don't know how long. It was a process, really. I hope I answered your question on that, Elizabeth. And Stephanie says, what do you do when you're stuck at the 3.5 month stall? That's a wonderful question. And actually, I joined Barry Nation last night, and we had a long discussion on stalls. The short answer to that is, Brian's coming on. I'm going to invite him on. The short question or short answer for that is, I'd say, like, really looking at your lifestyle, because what happens is we start kind of getting adjusted and doing some of the same things. If you're doing the same things and getting the same results, then Hey, Brian.
Hey, how are you?
Good. Thank you so much for joining us. We're so excited to have you here. Brittany is on. She's listening, but she's not on camera with us. And I kind of did an introduction of you because you had sent me such a wonderful profile, and I kind of explained a little bit about your background. And it looks like they're all saying hi. And I had told them too before you came on, I said, ask us some questions, because I wanted to kind of hit some things, and maybe you can help me with some of the questions too, as we kind of go through, after we kind of, do introductions and stuff like that. Maybe you can help with some of these questions, because there's some good questions. And I know that you've experienced some of the things that they're talking about. One of them is a weight stall at 3.5 months. And somebody is very nervous about going under and talking about anesthesia and just having surgery. So we'll talk about those. But before we get into those, I want you to yourself kind of tell us a little bit about you. And me and you met, like, I love Brian. We met at the WLSFA conference, which stands for Weight Loss Surgery Foundation of America. And it's a foundation that I know has been near and dear to my heart, ProCare's heart, probably your heart, because you were there.
Yeah.
But they what they do is they are a foundation that helps with giving people that can't afford weight loss surgery the funds to be able to do that. They sponsor so many surgeries a year. And so they have a big conference every year that's patient-centered, that helps people, that helps raise money for their cause. So at that, I'm going to kind of turn it over for you here, Brian.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you so much for having me on. And yeah, it was so great to meet you. And WLSFA, yeah, it was incredible to be, invited to speak. But, I'm 18 years post-op this month. So the 24th of June marked my 18-year post-op anniversary. And so, yeah, a long time in, and all the different facets of the journey. And one thing that I've learned, and I tell people now, is it's still a journey. Mm-hmm. You don't lose all the weight and it stops. You don't have plastic surgery and it stops. You don't all of a sudden hit the 10-year mark and it stops. It's every day. But yeah, so I had the Roux-en-Y gastric bypass in 2004. And, I was 27 years old at 400 pounds. and a 60-inch waist. Unable, I had to drop out of college. I was wearing oxygen. My knee was giving out. But the greatest thing was I'm an adventurer. I'm very extroverted. I'm a mover and a shaker, and I was a prisoner to my body. And yeah, I
Brian,
couldn't. Yeah.
I was just gonna say, is it okay if I show them a before and after picture?
Oh, absolutely.
Like you shared with me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, they got to see this because it's
Yeah.
incredible. Like,
Yeah.
like looking at you now, I would have, like, I wouldn't guess that you had weight loss surgery. You don't look like you would have ever had a weight problem, just because you just don't. And so I'm
Yeah.
like, I got to show them this picture. So guys,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
gonna kind of share my screen for just a moment, and I'm gonna pop onto my folder here and share this. So that is, can you still hear me and see me, Brian?
I
Okay,
can.
great.
Yeah.
I'll let you talk about these pictures.
Yeah, so the guy on the left, I was 350 pounds there, and it was Christmas time, and I'm sitting on my mother's lap, and so the joke was, years later, she had a hip replacement, and I always said, well, that was the reason right there. Um, but yeah, I didn't take many photos after this, because when this photo was taken, and somebody had sent it to me, and I just looked, and I was like, oh my goodness, like seen myself every day, but to see that photograph, I could not believe that that was me. And along the way, I would always say, well, if I hit 250 pounds, that's it. Like, I gotta change. And then I'd hit 250, and I'd say, okay, if I hit 300. But when I looked at this picture, I'm like, here I am, 350 pounds, and nothing's changing. So the guy on the right, I mean, that is about 8 years after surgery, and just living my best life. And to this day, I am living my best life. And it's not that I still don't have some of the struggles and that I still have food issues, and it's not that I'm still on a mental health journey. It's all part of that journey, but I am able to truly just live life. And I remembered when I had surgery, they considered me very high risk, and I accepted that risk. But I thought, if after going forward after surgery, I thought every day that I'm given, I am determined to live that day to the fullest. We're never promised our next day. So with the 24 hours I have today, I'm just going to live it to the fullest. And I couldn't do that in the body of that guy on the left there.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, I don't know if you've ever felt like this before, because we were talking about, right before you came on, someone had asked about how long did it take you to see the new person, and I said, you know what, that's a perfect question, because Brian, like, I knew you were going to talk about body dysmorphia, and I said for myself, like, I had weight loss surgery back in 2013, and for myself, it was a process, month to month, because I can remember, like changing sizes almost every month, and then thinking, I'm going to stop sharing the screen here so they can see you full screen. But I mean, I'll let you kind of take on that question.
Yeah. So, I mean, and same, I lost 220 pounds over the course of 1 year, but I felt like every other week I was changing sizes. And, initially I thought, boy, how am I going to financially keep up with the wardrobe change here? But, going into a big and tall store where I had shopped, all the time, and then being told we don't carry that size. And I was like, what? I've been shopping here for years. And then, walking in and buying clothes in a normal store. But I would look at something that would fit, but with my eye, I thought there's no way I could fit in that. And because I had the loose skin, that posed a whole different sizing issue. So I still was wearing things a little bit larger, and a lot of people would comment and say, oh, your clothes are so baggy. Why do you wear your clothes so big? And part of that was to conceal the skin. But yeah, waiting for my brain to catch up with my eye is sometimes what I tell people. And it was quite a journey. And to be honest, I'm 18 years post-op and still, buying things. I never was an Amazon person, and over the last 2 years, everything is from Amazon. But when I get, I ordered some stuff for summer from there, and when it came and I pulled it out, I'm like, there's just no way. I had it all ready to return. And then I thought, well, I'll just try it on and see, if I need one size bigger or two, and it fit perfectly. But with my eyes, I just thought there's no way it'll fit. So, yeah, I know for the first 5 years were the most difficult post-op because you're changing rapidly. And, I felt like really every day I was looking in the mirror, I'm trying to adjust to who I was seeing, and I'm currently writing a book, and there's a chapter in my book about the man in the mirror because I can remember, noticing that I had a jawline one day and seeing a collarbone, and I just thought, I don't know who this guy is. And so, yeah, getting reacquainted with yourself. But part of that identity process, what I tell people, the greatest thing I learned is you have to love you and love you in the state that you're in and the skin that you're in all those phases. There can be a lot of negative attention. Sometimes there's a lot of, it taps into your self-worth, and it really took me a long time to really just, yeah, get a hold of my own self-worth and to be able to just embrace, you know, myself in every one of those phases, and just love the person I was becoming.
So, when we're talking about the why, like the reason that you decided to have surgery, obviously it had to do with, I guess, being able to go to, I mean, I don't know if you're wanting to continue with your schooling. I know you said you had quit college for a little while. What would you say your why was, and also your personal secret for keeping the weight off? What do you think that was?
My why, when I had surgery, my daughter was 2 years old, and I had scheduled my surgery twice and canceled it due to fear and being nervous about it. And in between canceling the second one and me scheduling my actual surgery, my daughter was, crawling on the floor. And when I got down to play with her, my knee gave out and my body could not hold my weight. And I was mortified. I'm like, I cannot even get off my own floor. Um, my ex-wife at that time, she's like, do we call the fire department? And I'm like, now here I am, like one of these TV episodes that I watch. Like, I have to have the fire department get me off the floor. And so it was one thing being a prisoner to my body. I felt like I was losing my dignity at that point. And then I looked over at my daughter while I'm struggling to get off the floor, and I thought, at the rate that I'm going, I'm blessed to see this stage, but am I going to see her graduate high school? Would I live long enough to walk her down the aisle? Would I, be around to be, there for all these events in her life and to see her life unfold? And so that was my change. I mean, she was my why, and I fought and fought. We really went through a lot to have her, and I thought I was given this blessing, and now I got to make sure that I do what I can to be there for that blessing. And my secret to keeping it off is one of them is a photograph. That side by side that you just showed, that is in my wallet. It is on my refrigerator. It is in my office. And I keep it everywhere because sometimes, there's still days where I have a stressful day and all I want is a bag of chips and a Hershey bar. But I see the photo and I thought no matter how bad of a day I'm having, my day would be much worse in that other body. And I have just, getting that determination that you find new ways to cope. There's a lot of mental health that's not dealt with in part of the journey. I was one of those that shied away from that for a very long time. And then, realizing later that that was a big contributor and finding ways to cope. So now when I'm stressed, I have different things. I started painting several years ago, and that's became a great outlet for me. So rather than going home and, getting in the pantry, I go and get a canvas and some paint. But yeah, just keeping that focus, and realizing how far you've came. People, when I hear people say, "Oh man, I've only lost 5 pounds," I'm like, go get a 5 pound bag of sugar and carry that around. That only 5 pounds is a lot, and it's
Yeah.
not easy. So even when you're only at that 5 pounds, that 50 pounds, or the 150 pounds, those are victories. Own those victories and just keep pushing, you know? I know one of the questions was about somebody who's stalling, and you'll have those
Yeah.
plateaus and those times.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't, for me, when I was, you know, readdressing and kind of revising my eating habits, I stuck with the same thing every day so that I knew it was good, it worked, and I was losing. But at one point I would stall, and so I would switch up what I was eating. I really would just confine myself. It was easy. I knew every day what I was having. I meal prepped the same thing, and really I ate the same 3 meals every day for like 3 months. Um, and so I got a little neurotic about that. But sometimes just switching that up or changing your activity. If your activity is, you know, maybe just 30 minutes of cardio, try something else. Join a Zumba class. I just recently tried cardio drumming for the very first time. That's no joke. It's a great workout, but it's fun. So I
Uh-huh.
really try switching up my activity and, you know, and reevaluate what you're eating. And food diary is important. I do a food diary even now. You know, sometimes just to evaluate and say, well, if I did gain a couple pounds, let's evaluate and see why. And yeah, usually when I look in the diary, I'll see why.
Well, and I think that that's actually what I was just I we were when we before you came on, I was that's kind of what I was kind of starting to talk about is sometimes I think we have to identify like what in order like a baseline of where
Yeah.
you're at, and to be able to do that, sometimes the most helpful thing for me is tracking. I know you
Yes.
mentioned that as well. I'm terrible about doing it 24/7, 7 days a week. But a lot of times, if I feel myself kind of getting a little out of control, I'll
Hmm.
start doing it as much as I can, even if it's tracking a half a day
Yeah.
or whatever. Because what I'll notice is I'm more mindful about what I'm
Yeah.
eating, and I'm more mindful about what I'm putting in my body. And then it
Exactly.
also helps, like you said, it helps to identify like where your patterns are, because you don't
Hmm.
always know what you can change to get out of that stall. And sometimes it's really not that you're doing anything wrong. It's just that, like Brian said, sometimes you just got to change it up a little bit. Maybe your body has adjusted to a
Yeah.
certain pattern of maybe like um, eating the same thing day after day, and whatever you were eating, maybe it was super healthy and it was just what your body needed in the beginning to continue to lose weight. But sometimes your body gets used to that,
Yeah.
and
Change it
I
up.
need a little change up. So, and sometimes if you can't, I know this is one thing too, if you can't identify it, even though you've written down the things, maybe you've changed up some things, it never hurts to find a support person, whether it be a dietitian, your weight loss surgery program, your surgeon. It could be, actually could even just be a friend. I know that sounds
Yeah.
silly. Or a support. There's lots of people now online doing coaching, doing all different kinds of things. Sometimes just identifying those, and sometimes it's even mindset. You talked about mental health. Tell us
Yeah.
about what's helped you with that piece.
So that piece, for anybody who's anti-therapy, I just was one of those. I know that there was a stigma attached to it, and I thought, if I go, my perception was, and I work in healthcare, so it was kind of dumb to have this perception, but I thought if I go and tell my doctor that I need to be treated for anxiety or that I'm depressed, then that's going to be in my medical record and follow me forever. And I just had this thing about it. But once I got involved in therapy, I mean, it's been incredible. And part of my therapy is part of my weight journey. There are times where when I have to confide into my therapist and say, you know what, it was a bad week, and yeah, I didn't eat good, you know.
Yeah.
But the getting the clear focus and being true to yourself, be real with yourself. Even with the food diary, I know I would watch so many people and they would lie in their own diary. oh, well, I only ate a quarter of the sandwich when they really ate their sandwich and half of their mates. And I'm like, no, that isn't what you ate. Be honest with yourself and really start to, evaluate and find those things. If you catch yourself in a pattern where you feel like you're out of control and you've lost that control, start to evaluate and say, what is going on in my life that is causing this, and start to address those, and then find ways to handle, the feeling of being out of control. I was always an emotional eater, and I knew that. It was a perception that when I had the surgery that would miraculously be cured, but I soon learned it wasn't. And, and there's times when I feel that I get a careless attitude and I'm like, I'm just going to eat what I want. I really don't care what happens. Right then I will start, well, when I notice that happening, that's when I'll start tracking, because like you said, the tracking of my food will then make me conscious, and I won't want to be true to myself and write that I ate half a bag of M&Ms. And then also I will start journaling about what's going on in my life, what is happening right now that is causing this, and then what's another outlet that I could use other than food to help me in that time. The deep breathing, visualization, finding a hobby, in various activities. A support group and a support person, I think, is paramount. Anybody who is even considering surgery, find somebody in a network. There are groups and, like you said, online support everywhere. If you don't have one, get my contact information. I will be there for you. And I do have that. I have those relationships with several people right now. And, there's times where they just want somebody to be, not brutally honest, but very honest. And I think that's important, to be honest with yourself, and, you don't feel like you're alone, because I assure you, that's what I thought. I thought I'm the only one going through this. And when you get involved with other people and you network and find your support system, you'll find out you're not alone. What you're going through, there's hundreds of others that, have gone through the same. And being open and willing to share, share those feelings, share your journey, and taking care of yourself. I mean, it's vital. I have that caretaker mentality. That's who I am. I'm in healthcare, and so I take care of people for a living. And then everybody came first, but you do have to make that little position change in your life, and you do have to make yourself a priority. And you do have to really take care of yourself.
And Brian, one thing I want to add to that too, something that's kind of helped me. Keisha says she has to go. It's been nice listening. There's been a lot of comments. We just want to say Brian, I don't know if you can see the comments in the chat box. But there's lots of nice comments. Thank you guys for sharing. And we're going to try to get through a lot of these other questions or things too. I just want to say one thing that's helped me, and one thing that I feel like, what we talked about last night on my other call, is I think like when we're talking about the mental health side, and we're talking about kind of putting your focus, I'm going to say putting your focus in a place that's going to be beneficial, okay? And for me, mental means thoughts, okay? Putting your thought process in a place that's helpful, that's going to push you forward and create the world that you want to create, as opposed to creating the fearful one. And how do you do that? So one of the best ways that I think, I'm going to ask you the same thing, but one of the best ways that I found that's helped me is affirmations. Like when you find yourself getting in a spot, like say you're thinking, I am such a failure, I am having such a bad day, all I want to do is eat, all I'm going to do is eat. Flip that around to the very opposite and say, you know what? I know it's possible for me to change. I know it's possible. If you can't say, I am eating the best foods I can. If you can't quite get to those spots where I am successful, if you can't quite get there, do something to bridge that gap. Like say something to yourself like, I know there's people that can support me to get me to where I need to be. I know that there's a way for me to move past this. Like, bridge that and like work towards what your goal is and focus on that. Like you were talking about the visualization. Like if you want to be wherever you want to be, you have to first sometimes create it on a different level. Like you have to create it up here emotionally. Your emotions play a huge part in this. And what I mean by that is if you are telling yourself you're a failure and your emotions drop, like you feel really a lot of pain around that, then what you know is that's not true. Your emotions are super reflective of wherever you are on this journey. And if you feel you're feeling a strong negative emotion consistently or even temporarily, you don't have to feel that way long term. All you got to do is temporary. All you got to do is find a way to feel better. I'm going to let you see if you have more to say on that.
You know, mirror talk. For the first year and a half, I used to write Post-it notes on my mirror, and sometimes I needed those just to get my day going. You know, trials are just temporary. You know, the downtimes, they're just temporary. I would get really frustrated with the loose skin, and I had notes everywhere. Love the skin you're in. Just embrace it. You know, I begin to look at, you know, and turning it around, like you said, from a negative to a positive. You know, having surgery, you know, first I had the loose skin, so I was bothered by that. Then I had skin surgery, and now I have a scar, so I was bothered by that. But now I view that scar, that's a victory sign, you know? So it's changing your perception, changing how you see it, and take those negatives and you begin to transform it into a positive mindset. And sometimes just in front of that mirror, just changing your self-talk. Instead of saying, I'm worthless, I'm a failure, I can't do this, I'm never going to be able to get past this, you know, you say, no, yes, I messed up, but that's not the end. So I'm gonna pick up and start over right now.
The story's not over, right? The story's not over.
That's exactly it. So, you know, there's another page to turn, and you know, we're all gonna have those times, but you know, start talking to yourself, and you know, the negative self-talk. Anybody that's around me, like I'll cut that off right away, and you stand in front of that mirror and you just declare to yourself how beautiful you are, how far you have came. You know, that, you know, you're going to keep meeting your goals, and, you know, you're going to accomplish those things, and set yourself out those goals. You know, I think that that's really vital. But if there's things that you want to accomplish, people talk about a bucket list, and those are things that they wanted to do before they die. Well, I always, you know, I said I have a solo cup, you know, list. Like, these are things I want to do right now. And, you know, and set yourself out and be good to yourself, treat yourself. And, but really, really watching what comes out of your mouth, because, you know, there's power in your words. And if you constantly have that negative speech, and then it creates a negative mindset, and then the negative emotion, and you can turn all of that around by positive speech, then giving you the positive thoughts and positive emotion. So I think it's just really vital to sometimes just change your talk, and fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes, you know, I'd be having a bad day, and I just get in the mirror and all frustrated and whatever, and be like, look, you got this. You have came this far. We are going to make it.
And I tell you, you're 100% right. One of the things that I do literally almost every day is, number one, meditate, to help kind of relax my mind about letting go of all that past shit. I'm just going to call it out.
Yes. Yeah.
Letting go of that. Powerful. Number two is, if you have a hard time creating momentum in your day to be in that positive mindset, you wake up and you get out of bed, you stub your toe, you spill your whole coffee on your shirt, which I've done before, like stupid
same.
Stuff like that, you know, then do something that puts you in a little better mood, that kind of, it's conditional. I'm going to call it conditional love, because it's related to a condition, but read something that motivates you. get onto some YouTube video that motivates you. Listen to Brian. He will motivate you.
Yes, find a podcast. Put music on. Something that inspires
put
you.
music on.
Yeah.
Pet your animal if you love your animal. If you don't like your animal, it's not going to be fun. But find something that just makes you, like, just kind of, like, makes you relax a little bit and be a little happier, you know?
Yeah.
Because you're right. It's about those solo cup moments. I love that. I never heard that before. You know, just being like where you are, like do something now today that makes you happy. You may not be here tomorrow.
yes, that's it. Yeah. And just seize the moment, seize the moment. And even when you think it's a bad moment and you just have spilt your coffee, sometimes those are moments when you just gotta laugh. To somebody, outside looking in, they might be saying, okay, well, I think they got bigger problems. They're in there laughing at themselves. But, in all honesty, sometimes it's just, realizing, okay, life goes on. We're going to get beyond this. It could be worse. It could always be worse. But yeah, you finding those things, and just taking time, going to a park and meditating or journaling or, finding some of those outlets. And for a lot of you out there, probably like myself and maybe even you, Brenda, I never focused on myself. I never took care of myself. I took care of everyone else around me, but I neglected myself for a very long time. So that was foreign to me. But when you start changing those patterns and you give yourself time and you give yourself some of those things you need, it's incredible, and finding the self-worth. I think that's so important. Is so many people they struggle with that, but you have to find that place where you love yourself, even in the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah. And you were talking about let's go back to the self-worth thing. What I just want to say is sometimes we have to gauge it, like, sometimes we spend so much time. You were talking about the doing everything for everybody else. We would, if you're a real humanitarian, which I think you are, Brian, it's about, your whole life is about service. And I know there's many of us, especially in the healthcare field, I know you're in the healthcare field, that went into a service field because we feel that that's what we're drawn to and what our part of our purpose is. But even before that, I think if you have that personality type, what I would suggest is, treat yourself just like, instead of, the golden rule is treat others like you want to be treated. Treat yourself the way that you would treat others, because kind of like a little flip on that, because really and truly, a lot of times it's much easier to be kind, to be gentle to another person and to relate to what they're going through, especially if you're really sensitive and like you can feel their pain and you just want to make everything better. But sometimes we put ourselves on reserve to be able to do that. Maybe our cup isn't full, and so we're like, we're depleted and we're trying to give out all of this energy to everybody else instead of doing what we need to do. Let me tell you, it's not selfish to fill your cup first, because when your cup is full, the amount of service that you can give to other people is tenfold.
Yeah, that's 100%. And for those people who are those, it's in their character to be that service type of person and to be that humanitarian, you can't even do that as effective as you want if your cup isn't full. So it is important that if that is your personality type, that you take care of you so that you're well conditioned, and then you have more to give, you have more to offer, and you have the energy to extend and the help to give, because your cup is full. But if you run yourself empty, you won't be able to give and accomplish that what you want to do.
It's so true. And I'm going to read a couple comments. So we have some on Facebook and we have some here. On Facebook, DL says, she is at the beach now. So she's drinking out of that Solo cup right now. She's smelling the
Atta
salty
girl.
beach air is what she's saying.
Like it.
And Deborah says, our program has been canceled for support groups, so we have been on our own to find support. So many places with lots of money for joining. Appreciate these meetings. So we want to appreciate you being here to help support these people. And then I know we have some questions. I'm going to go back through here real quickly and read. I know there was one we didn't get to yet. Hi, I'm Tan. I'm having this leave in September. I'm really nervous about going under. Did anyone have that fear? This is going to be my first surgery. And I'm going to let you answer that before I answer that. I have something too I want to say, but I know you have something. Because you said that you... You said that you canceled it a couple times before?
I canceled it twice, and when I scheduled the third time, he said, "If you cancel this, I can't be your surgeon." He's like, "I can't, you got to be committed." But I was very nervous, and from a healthcare perspective, I will tell you, yes, they've came a long way. It is very safe. The anesthesiologists are very trained. A lot of people are very nervous about going under and wondering what that experience is like. And, it's so quick that, you're out and then you wake up and you're in recovery and you're in the next stage of your journey. And, I understand.
It's like a light switch. You don't even know.
Yeah. Nope. And, but what, that fear, you just begin to, to turn that around and and start to get that excitement, start to look at what's going to happen beyond recovery, start planning. What are those things, what are those milestones you're looking forward to, what do you want to accomplish after? When I got really nervous, especially down to the 2 weeks before my surgery, I thought, okay, what's my biggest accomplishment that I want to do post-operatively? And I wanted to run a 5K. And so I began to research, are there training programs so I can run a 5K and all of that. And so I just started to take my focus and my energy and I started pouring it into something else that I was excited about. And, in 2 years post-op, I ran that 5K. But that fear, it's normal. I mean, it's a normal, thing to have, but also try to tap into that excitement and try to find that balance there. And, I'm excited for you and your best life's just ahead of you.
Yeah. That gives me goosebumps. That was an incredible answer because the feelings or the emotions of fear are very, very similar to excitement. I know it sounds silly, but it's true. They are very similar. Your heart kind of starts beating. You get a little nervous and all of that. But what I'm going to tell you too is remember where your focus goes, your thoughts go, and all of that.
Yeah.
Don't continuously look at all those things that scare you. Don't be Googling complications after weight loss surgery. I mean, it's obvious it's good to know, to be educated. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you sit and you spend hours upon hours researching things that can put your mindset in the wrong place, it's not the best place for you to be. Like, watch things that inspire you. Watch people. If you're wanting to be able to run a 5K, start watching videos of people running a 5K. Start looking at pictures of people who are 2 months post-op. I mean, put your mind in the right place. So for me, what I had to ask myself, this is one of the biggest things, ahas for me, is whenever I was preparing, because I was nervous too. When you're in the healthcare field, you see the good, the bad, everything. And so for me, I just decided, was my fear of change greater than my fear of staying the same? Mm-hmm. My fear of staying the same was greater. I did not want to stay the same. I just couldn't do it anymore. So to me, that was my part of my why. I wanted to be able to change, and I knew that the surgery was one of the biggest tools. You still have to do all the stuff surrounding it, but it was one of the tools to help.
Yeah, and another thing too is to watch the people in your circle, in your family circle, your social circle. Watch the negative talk. I had a lot a lot, which was the reason I initially canceled my first two surgeries. I had a lot of negative feedback in my social circle, and over time I had to really take a step for myself and tell them, like, we're just not going to talk about surgery. We're going to agree to disagree. We're just not going to talk about it, because I did not want that negative intonation all the time. And it was, people were just constantly offering their advice and their opinion, and I just stopped accepting it. We could talk about anything else, we're not talking about this. And I had people sending me articles and medical journals and all this stuff, and I really had to put a stop to that within those people in my circle, and just allow those that were going to speak positive. And you can do that. You take control and take charge, and kind of control what you're letting in and what you're giving out.
And she says her friends are supportive of her family, so that's wonderful. But you're right, though. I will tell you, too, one advice, and it speaks, I'm going to call it the law of attraction. The more comfortable that you get with whatever you're doing, like the more that it doesn't make a difference what anybody else thinks, the more comfortable you are, and the more excited you become about doing it, the more that's going to rub off on other people, too. Because when they see how happy it's making you and how excited you are for it, would you agree with that, Brian? Like the more that you stop that, just said, I'm not going to listen to this, I'm just going to move forward. People probably started reacting to that and were like, okay, he's made his mind up. It's okay,
Yep. Yeah, and there were some who, didn't take to it, and then there were others who said, wow, I really I commend you for taking that stand, and you're committed to it. And, I had researched, I went through all of the classes beforehand, and I was ready. And, I was aware that there were risks, and, you sign that form when you're in the hospital, acknowledging those risks. A lot of those people really came back into my circle, so to speak, and became supportive, and they kind of wanted to learn with me. So when they seen that I wasn't going to take that negative feedback, then they were like, okay, well, now tell me more about it. Because really a lot of what you get is, they're not really educated. They're based on, a Facebook video that they seen, or a story that they heard of somebody's friends, uncles, mothers, nephew, not knowing the whole story. And that I would get a lot of that. And so I began to really become a big proponent of educating people, and be like, and I was giving out websites and information left and right.
And Brian, thank you for saying that. What I want to say too is, I guess we have about 10 minutes left. I want to touch briefly on two other points that I think are important to this call, because you mentioned one of them before, your plastic surgery journey, and what made you decide to do that. Because I know you kind of talked a little bit about the excess skin thing, and then what made you decide to do that, and also just briefly on your fear of fitness and how you overcame that. That social anxiety that can kind of go along with being with being in the gym, or going into places, or doing things that feel socially awkward at first.
Yeah. And I'll actually start about the gym. After most of the weight had came off, and I did have the loose skin, I wasn't real concerned with fitness for probably the first 5 years. But then I was like, okay, I really want to start toning up. I want to work out. I want to build up my endurance. I want to strengthen my heart, and I want to get fit. And I wanted to, do some more activities. I ran that 5K, which to me felt like, when I passed the finish line there, I felt like I had been given, the super clearinghouse, sweepstakes winning check right there. Like I felt like $1 million. And I thought, I want to keep doing these things. I want to start hiking and all these things that are on my solo cup list. And I bought a gym membership, and for 9 months, I pulled into the parking lot 3 days a week, and I could never go in the door. And to believe it or not, that's
Whoa.
what led me to see a therapist. I thought I am going cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs right now. Like I couldn't even believe my own self, but I became so overcome with fear. I couldn't even go in the door. But I kept going back. I thought, oh, tomorrow I'll be able to go in. But I was so fearful of that comparative game and of going in there and people saying, I hid all that skin very well. Women have Spanx and men have Manx, and I wore Manx 7 days a week, every day. I had a compression tank top that went all the way to my hips, and then I had a trunk that went from my hips to my knee, and I wore that every day. Didn't matter if I had things to do or not. It kept everything tucked in, but wearing that every day, it's uncomfortable. And then to go to the gym in that was not nice either. And so finally, I did go see a therapist, and I'm like, I'm pulling up at the gym literally every day for 9 months. I've wasted 9 months worth of my money in membership dues, and I can't go in. And he said, you have to trick yourself. He said, trick yourself. He said, you're going to go get that door handle and you're going to march in there and you're going to walk in there like you are Arnold Schwarzenegger. Walk in there like you own that place and fake it till you make it. Go in there, put on, if you have to, exude this fake self-esteem, but just march yourself in there and get through one workout and then watch what happens. I thought, well, okay, I've wasted a lot of money. Now I'm paying money to a therapist. I may as well give it a try. And so I did go and I got the gym door. And when I tell you, like, my hand on that door handle, like my heart was racing. I was already perspiring and I haven't even hit a treadmill. But I got in, I did my workout. And when I walked out, I thought, nobody said anything. Nobody made comments. Nobody knew I had my Manx on. Nobody said anything. And yeah, I had to just make that step, and it was difficult and it was hard. But once I did it, then I was able to get in there. And so um, it was so eye-opening. But, realizing that those people, they didn't care. They didn't care if I had loose skin or didn't. And did I really care? I mean, I have really gotten to the point that, I don't care if, my arms are still very flabby and I still have really loose thighs, but I'm still wearing a tank top and shorts because I'm comfortable. And if somebody else is uncomfortable, that's on them. That's not on me. And so just really, again, getting that mindset but that social anxiety, it definitely took time. But, again, that also comes back to that self-worth because I thought I'm worthy of being in that gym just as much as every other person in there. I'm paying my dues just like they are. I want to work out just as bad as they do, if not more. And, and then I began to use that really as one of my outlets. And so when there was days, maybe I wasn't planning on working out, but I had a really bad day at work, I would just go to the gym just to put music in my ears, get on the treadmill and work that off. But, with over time, I didn't explore skin removal surgery for a long time because I always had an underlying fear of gaining my weight back. And even though I was 10 years post-op, I had never gained more than 10 pounds. I still had that fear of, well, what if I get a tummy tuck and then I gain the weight? And by the time I was 14 years post-op, I'm like, okay, I've been 14 years by now and hadn't. So I think now it's time to start looking into it. And I got so tired of wearing these garments every day. Summertime, it was horrible. And I was like, God bless the women. God bless the women who wear these. And it gave me a whole new appreciation. But, and even, again, looking into cosmetic surgery, the negative feedback. I had a bunch of people saying, oh, it's because you're vain and you're doing it for vanity's sake and you're putting yourself at risk. And, when is it going to stop? You had weight loss surgery. Now you're having plastic surgery. And what's next? And again, I had to quiet that storm and just make an informed decision for myself. And 4 years ago, I had a tummy tuck, and I mean, it was incredible. When I woke up in recovery and they showed me, I was in awe. Uh, I was so overcome with emotion, even in recovery. I mean, I couldn't believe it. And but having that gone, I mean, it affected so much. I mean, when you're wearing those garments, and many of you know, you're sweating, you have skin problems. If I didn't wear them, if I didn't have my minks on and I were to just sit down, my panis or the apron, I would like pinch it in the bend of my leg. I mean, I'm having to reposition skin all the time. And so it was for comfort and it was for health, and then 2 years after that, I had surgery for gynecomastia, or my chest. And so I had all the excess skin removed off my chest. And, a lot of people ask me if I'm done. Right now, I'm comfortable where I'm at. I don't foresee pursuing surgery right now, but a year or two down the line, I may. My legs, my thighs are the worst, and I am self-conscious of them. But it's like, again, I look at it and it's like I've came this far, so I'm just gonna wear it as my badge of honor, my badge of victory, and I'm gonna put my shorts on and do my thing. Um, but I mean, the plastic surgery, it's a big step, just as much a big step as having the weight loss surgery. Um, but again, a lot of people have a very negative perception of that. So when you start getting to that point in your journey, it's important that you know, watch what you let in.
Yeah.
And in being very informed. I saw 10 different plastic surgeons before I chose mine. I'm a huge advocate for myself and my health, and so if somebody had bedside manner that was bad, they were checked off the list. I interviewed them because when I'm getting a position, you're working for me. I'm hiring you, and you're working for me. So um, I did take my time. I didn't, go about it, you know, uh, without being very educated and very informed and comfortable. And my outcome has been great. I mean, just waking up and not having every day that, you know, just that loose skin. Like I always tell everybody, it's like my tire had deflated, and, having to adjust it all the time, and the garments and all of that. And so it was very freeing, to be able to be active. I mean, if I didn't have those garments on and I were to go for a jog, like it was humiliating because my skin is smacking around, and it's, you know, um, so my biggest advice is you do what's best for you. If it makes you comfortable, if you're happy, you're well enough, you're clear to have it, you're in a place where you're ready for it. And again, that it still is part of that journey of that identity factor. And there were still times where, I'd be trying on clothes and where I may have had to adjust to make up for the skin. I no longer had to do that. Um, and so it's just another part of that journey. But, making sure you're educated, and again, just really trying to hold back the negative input.
And Scotty just commented too. She said, "Hi, I completely agree with everything that Brian said, but that thigh surgery is no joke. Be prepared for it." Scotty actually was one of our guests here last week. So her replay's on there, and she, like you, Brian, she had plastic surgery too. So
Okay. Yeah, I was just talking with a previous coworker, and she had hers done, and she she was saying, "Oh boy." But yeah, it's yeah, I wear those scars. My tummy tuck. I tell people that's when they question the scar, I'm like, yeah, that's my badge of victory right there. That's my victory scar, and it's a daily reminder when I see it in the mirror again of my journey. It reminds me every day how far I've came. Yeah.
That gives me chills. I love listening to you. I didn't get to listen to you whenever you talked to WLSFA. Let me ask you this too. There's 2 patient conferences coming up real soon. One of them is OAC, Your Weight Matters, which is in Weston at the Lake Las Vegas, and then the other is Obesity Help in Costa Mesa, California. Are you going to either of those?
I haven't set up for either of those just because I had a few things going on here. However, I am looking into those because somebody else just sent me the dates, and I may be able to make, I believe it's the Obesity Help. One is in October.
Let's see. The OAC, you know what? I'll post it in the chat box for people here.
Great.
I have both of them because these are both patient shows, you guys, if you're looking kind of to connect. Actually, I think I'm going to both of them. Let's see. So let me post the first one here. Whoops. Okay, I'm going to copy the link. And I'm going to paste it here on our chat. So the first one here is Your Weight Matters. And that's at Lake Las Vegas. And that one is the date of 7. It's in July. So that's really soon. That might be a little hard for some people to prepare for. 7/14 through 7/16. 7/16. And then the other one is Obesity Help. And the only reason I ask is because I kind of heard that a lot of the people who were at some of those other conferences, a lot of them will do both. And that's why I was kind of curious.
A lot of people that I connected with at WLSFA are going to the Obesity Help.
So I'm going to write that down here. That's the next one here, Obesity Help. And that one is, I think it's September.
And
that one is in Costa Mesa. Oh, go ahead.
How powerful the connecting through some of these conferences are is, I met you meet great people, like Brenda, when I met you, it was like I had known you forever. And you have some of these connections, and there are times in your life when you have divine connections, like you were in the right place at the right time with the right people. That was definitely one. And I met 2 other ladies there who we connected on such a level of encouragement and speaking into each other's lives and struggles that they were going through. And, oh my gosh, I'm the only one that's going through it. And I'm like, oh no, I've been through that too. And we really had to share. And even after the conference, we FaceTime, we talk almost weekly. And those 2 ladies are flying in and spending the 4th of July with me here in Detroit, Michigan. And I'm so elated, and they're just, I'm just so excited, and I'm telling everybody, man, my friends are coming, and, but we had such a connection. Here's a little story about WLSFA. One of the nights when we were in Vegas, we went to Fremont Street, and all the 2 ladies and myself, we got matching tattoos while we were there.
Was that
and
recently?
We just met at that conference, but that's how amazing that connection has been. And, we have laughed together, we have shed tears together. And so, put yourself out there and you will gain treasures in your life, I'll tell you.
Well, I'm excited to hear that because I agree with you. I have made some connections that's just been just like you, Brian. I mean, if I wouldn't have went through this journey, sometimes I think, going through life, the things that I'm going to say trigger you the most, the more things that throw you over the edge. For example, having a problem with weight can actually be the biggest life motivators and the biggest gifts because of all the things that you receive through the journey, the solo cup moments.
Yes, I agree. Yes, yep.
Brian, I'm going to share your contact information for these people that are watching.
Absolutely.
I have your name. I don't know. There's a desk number, a mobile number.
The mobile number you can get.
And did you want your email?
Yeah, and then
Okay, let me copy this. and I will paste it into the thing here.
And anybody who wants to reach out, I absolutely, I encourage you. I spoke at a conference locally here. It was a life transformation tour about 2.5 years ago. And, I had worked all day. I went and spoke at this conference. And so when it was over, I looked at this meet and greet line after, and it was a mile long. And the selfish part of me was like, you know what? I'm hungry. I'm tired. I don't want to sit and shake hands with all these people. I just want to go home. And I put a check in myself real quick, and I'm like, these people are hungry and tired too, but they came to hear your story.
I think we lost Brian for just a second, but he has a point. We lost you for just a second, Brian.
Yeah, so halfway through that meet and greet line, this lady was just bawling her eyes out, just in tears. And so when I went up to her, I said, is everything okay? And she just said, so many things you said touched me on so many levels. I really talked a lot about the depression and the low times, which was where she was at that moment. And she got my email and my phone number, and she wanted me to be an accountability partner. And to this day, she reaches out to me and reports to me every other week. She has lost 80 pounds. She shares her victories. We share in the ups and the downs. And she confides in me with about a lot of different things, and I've been able to help her with different recommendations along her way. But I want to be able to my journey to help anybody. So if you have questions, concerns, you just want advice, you want to chat, photos, what all did I do in my solo cup buckets, just reach out, please.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much. You're on Instagram?
Yes.
And what is your man. Okay, I'm not the man.
I'm half the man.
Oh, I'm half the man. I'm gonna show that here in just a second. Whoops. I think I'm going to.
And remember that laughter is the greatest medicine.
Oh, so true. Is it I am?
I am, and then half the man. Yeah.
Oh, found it, Brian. I'm gonna copy that link. I'm gonna put it in here too, and I'm gonna show them. Okay. So, guys, I'm gonna share my screen here. So he's also on Instagram, if you want to follow him on Instagram. And also you're on Facebook too, correct?
I am, yep.
Which one do you usually go to? What is your more go-to with everything?
Instagram.
Instagram, okay. Yeah. So I would say, gotta follow. I'm going to follow. I think I was followed on my personal page, but this is our ProCare page. Brian, you get all kinds of good stuff on here. Look at all this good stuff. I love it. Oh, Lord. Okay, we got to read one of these. I pretend to like people every day. It's called being an adult, and that's why we are allowed to buy alcohol. Oh, I love that. Sometimes you just got to say it as it is, right?
Right. That's it. Yeah.
This looks like you at the gym.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So just posting your own personal journey. Thank you so much for sharing all that. I'm going to go back here. I'm going to stop sharing my page, and I'm going to post your Instagram. And then what I want to say too is usually at the end of these things, we also kind of, our host here today is ProCare Health, and they're our sponsor. And we've been doing a little bit of what we call kind of problem solution thing, and this kind of may hit home for some people. So today I'm going to share here what our problem. I'm going to go here. Brian, you kind of talked about your child, and so this is going to be talking about, let me go to our pictures here. So let's say we have somebody that is wanting to have weight loss surgery. kind of like you had a child, so you were wanting to be healthy for your child. You were wanting to, make sure that you lived a long life and that you were able to be there. We also have a lot of times women and even sometimes men that are wanting to have weight loss surgery because they want to have a family, and to them that's really important, and having a family may mean some weight loss, which can help with like polycystic ovary disease for women and some other hormonal issues. So in doing that, a lot of times women have to be careful about, especially women, I'm talking more about women than men on this part, but they have to be careful about staying on track with vitamins, sometimes even taking vitamins prior to surgery and then throughout their pregnancy and after. So basically, I'm just going to kind of share something here. We do have ProCare Health came out with one of the only prenatal formulas on the market. So if you're one of those people, that's out there that's considering having weight loss surgery and maybe has had weight loss surgery and you're wanting to get pregnant or are pregnant, or maybe you've already had a child and you're kind of within that first year or two in your breastfeeding and all of that, we have this prenatal formula that's specifically formulated for prenatal care. And I'll post the link here. Actually, if I go to our ProCare website, I'll copy that. If you go under products and bariatric multivitamin, it is one of the very first ones listed. It's only $18.20 a month if you do a subscription, otherwise $22. And you can actually, if you're seeing your surgeon or an OBGYN doctor, pull this up, show it to them, make sure it has all the essentials that you need. But there is the back. It also has a fun little digestion blend. A lot of times women who get pregnant or in the process have problems with digestion, maybe nausea and things like that. So it has a little proprietary blend, down there at bottom. It also has some probiotics to help too with digestion. So I will stop sharing, and I know we're a little over, but we had so many things to say. It's good. I appreciate your time, Brian. I hope we didn't compromise your day at all.
No, I am so grateful for the opportunity. I really am. It's truly an honor, and thank you to everybody who's watching now and watches later, and thank you so much for what you do, because this is, you're changing lives just by having this available to every person on here. It's incredible. I'm grateful.
Well, thank you for saying that, because we always wonder, it's like you hope you're doing what you need to do, and honestly, I have to say, our CEO Nick has one of his goals was like, I want to be able to offer resources, because it's not just about selling, it's about giving people resources so they stay consistent. If you stay consistent with your journey, you're going to take vitamins, you're going to do those kind of things. So in that point, just being the support piece is helps people just stay on their journey. So thank you so much, Brian. I'm going to reach back out to you after the call. I'll send you a little email. But thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your day. And thank you everybody else on the call.
Yes, thank you so much, and thank you to everyone out there. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care, everybody.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.